Minnesota Vikings are traveling across the country to take on the Seattle Seahawks in a massive NFC Week 16 matchup between the Vikes and the Seahawks. And right now, the bookmakers have the Vikings as a 3-point favorite. I think that is extremely disrespectful. I think that should be around 5 or 6. Over/under set at 43.5. And this is an 8-6 Seahawks team squaring off with a 12-2 Minnesota Vikings football team. So we got a lot to break down on today's show. But before we dive into it, if you guys want the Minnesota Vikings to beat the Seattle Seahawks and move to 13-2, give me those skulls down below in the comment section. Even though we're on the road this weekend, I want the comments looking like US Bank Stadium on game day. Give me those skulls, because from here on out, every single game for the Minnesota Vikings, we are treating it like a playoff game here on the channel. So if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Seahawks, give me those skulls down below. Now, topics we're going to be discussing on today's preview versus Seahawks. Number one, we're going to be discussing the latest injury news around the Minnesota Vikings. Also going over a deep dive into the Seattle Seahawks. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And then also keys to victory. 5 ways the Vikings can celebrate an 8th straight win. And then finally, I have my score prediction for you guys. But just start off with the injury news here. So Jalen Redmond, one of the last plays of the Bears game, Jalen Redmond did suffer a concussion versus Chicago Bears in Week 18. So he's in concussion protocol right now, and it's extremely disappointing because Jalen Redmond, he's been awesome over the last couple of weeks. Specifically the 2 games before the Bears game, I thought he was fantastic. Really has stepped up and just balled out for this run defense. Even though the run defense has taken a step back without Ivan Pace in the lineup, still Jalen Redmond has been a huge bright spot. And then also Brian O'Neill. This is great news for the Minnesota Vikings, because when I was watching that Bears game this weekend, I was terrified when Brian O'Neill went out because, listen, I think this Vikings team is extremely special. I think they're the best team in the NFC, possibly the best team in the NFL. But if you would have lost Brian O'Neill, I mean, you would have been fighting an uphill battle, because you would have had David Quessenberry, you would have had Cam Robinson as your starting tackles, and a shaky interior offensive line. I mean, you could make an argument without O'Neill, the Vikings got one of the worst offensive lines for playoff teams this season. So great to know that Brian O'Neill, he's just dealing with some soreness in his knee, and he will be ready to go this weekend versus Seattle Seahawks. And a player that should be good to go, which is going to be great for our Minnesota Vikings, is Stephon Gilmore, the 6-foot, 34-year-old cornerback, dealing with that hamstring injury. And I'm just assuming he's going to be good to go, as, last week he was listed as a limited participant on the last practice before the Bears game, so I'm assuming he's going to be good to go. But even if he isn't able to go, I am okay with the Vikings just giving him that extra week, making sure that hamstring is all ready to fully be used during this playoff run. But there's something to watch here in terms of the Seahawks side of things. So Geno Smith, he left the game versus the Packers with a knee injury, but all reports we are getting right now is that he should be ready to play this weekend against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the only thing I'll say about that is if it is not Geno Smith, it is going to be Sam Howell. And if it is Sam Howell in the lineup, the Vikings defense might shut out the Seahawks. Sam Howell is one of the worst starting quarterbacks, or not starting quarterbacks, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I think if he is in there for Seattle under center, it should be a massive victory for the Minnesota Vikings. But let's deep dive on the Seattle Seahawks. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What has been going on for Seattle over the last couple of weeks? Well, they are in a battle right now for the NFC West. And as it stands, as we're filming, the Rams are 8-6. The Seahawks are 8-6. So this game for Seattle is a massive one, because if they drop this and the Rams have a winnable game this weekend, they're going to be a game behind. They don't have the tiebreaker as well. So Seattle, you're going to get their best punch this weekend. They're going to be trying to win this game. And plus, with the Cardinals and even the Niners still on their heels over there, every game for them, they're probably treating it like a playoff game as well. But let's dive into their offense. What makes them kind of tick here? So good news for the Vikings is that they actually are terrible at running the football, only averaging 94 rush yards per game. That's 28th in the NFL, and they do have some good running backs that we'll talk about here in a second. But points per game, 22.5, that's 14th. Total yards per game, 13th, and pass yards per game. They actually have a good passing offense. Shout out to Geno Smith for that one. But, hey, there are 3 weapons on the outsides. Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, one of the best trios of wide receivers we will see in the NFL this season. And if you think about, what makes the kind of Seahawks offense tick, it is getting the ball out and getting these playmakers chances. And, they have a guy in, Geno Smith, similar to Sam Darnold. He was kind of pushed out of the way with the New York Jets, and he revitalized his career in Seattle. And PFF has him ranked as the 9th best quarterback out of 63 total guys this season. Average time to throw is at 2.82. That's 25th in the NFL. Big time throws, he makes them all the time. He's got 25 of them and only 13 turnover-worthy throws this season. And they actually will use him in some design runs. He's got 47 so far this season. So keep your eyes out on that this weekend. But in terms of the rushing attack, what makes them tick? Kenneth Walker III, phenomenal running back. Zach Charbonnet, phenomenal running back. These two are one of the best duos out there in the NFL. And in terms of total rush yards, just over 500 for Kenneth Walker, just over 450 for Zach Charbonnet. So they're getting about 1,000 yards of production from their two running backs. Now, yes, the yards per carry aren't as high, but these guys can still kill you, and they also have dual threat ability. They can both catch the football, both have a receiving touchdown so far this season. But the thing is about this matchup, the Vikings defense, it travels, man. It doesn't matter, and yes, I understand the advantage of US Bank Stadium is huge for this group. But this defense can go on the road and have a big-time performance. I mean, we saw it against, like, the Titans, the Jags, even, like, the Bears. And those aren't really too good at football teams. But we even saw it, traveling to Lambeau. You only held the Packers to, 7 points at halftime. That was a great performance. So this defense can go on the road, get a big-time win, and I expect another great performance from Flores and company this weekend. I'm going to go bold here. I'm going to say they don't give up a touchdown this weekend to Seattle. Let's talk about their defense here because – they got a new head coach, Mike McDonald. He's a hell of a head coach. Great defensive mind. Came from the Baltimore Ravens, but his defense has not been playing up to par, I would say, as they're compared to their preseason expectations. But this is how they rank out in the league. They're the 15th ranked scoring defense. They're okay on third downs. They're not too good against the run, giving up 130 yards a game. So watch out for Aaron Jones and Cam Akers to have a good one. But just what I'm seeing from his Seahawks team here, they are a well-coached team. I'll give them credit. Like, they don't really make too many mental mistakes. They're going to be, they're not going to beat themselves, but also they don't really have that kind of knockout punch. So, Mike McDonald going against Kevin O'Connell, here's my take on it. I think the Vikings offense is going to drop 30 points for a third straight game this season. You dropped 42 against Atlanta. You dropped 30 against the Bears, where you really aren't playing too well. And, statistically, the Bears have a better defense than Seattle Seahawks. So I think they're going to travel. I think Sam Darnold, outside, that big body, that big arm, he's going to be throwing that football, cutting through the winds, and he's going to find 18, number 3 and 87, a whole lot. So that's my take. I think the Vikings will score 30-plus again this weekend, and I also think the defense will not give up a touchdown against the Seahawks. But you guys let me know. Predict the score for me. Vikings versus Seahawks. I'll give you guys my score prediction here at the tail half of today's show. But you guys chime in on this one. Predict the score. Vikings versus Seahawks. What do you guys think the score is going to be? Now, we'll talk about my keys to victory here in a second, but first off, I want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. If you guys download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS, you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Now, Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and plus, it makes for a perfect gift. So if you guys are trying to get a loved one tickets to the Vikings-Packers game, it's a great way to do so. Tickets are very expensive, as you see on screen right now, and if you guys want to just get $20 off, this is a great way to do so. So Game Time also has a new feature called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff, showing you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app today, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Key to victory number 1 for the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. I'm going to go the three-headed monster. And you guys may be saying, well, Patrick, who is the three-headed monster? If you guys don't know, it's the 3 best pass catchers on this football team: Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hockenson. Now, I think as we get later in the year, you're going to have to rely on what you are great at. And if I could pinpoint one thing on this Vikings team that they are great at, it is on the outside. It is their weapons. They remind me a whole lot of those old San Francisco 49ers teams, Brock Purdy, who have made 2 Super Bowls over the last 4 seasons, where you have some elite weapons. You got 2 receivers. You got a really good tight end, and you also have 2 good running backs in Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. So get these 3 the football, get them involved early, and hey, Jefferson, let's go have another 15-yard season. How about you Or what do we have to say about that? But number 2 for me, I'm going to go clean football here. So, you are clearly the better team in this matchup. And how do you lose this game is that you beat yourself. So I'm looking at guys like Sam Darnold. I'm looking at guys like Cam Robinson on the offensive line who had 3 false starts last week against the Chicago Bears. But if you take care of the football, you don't shoot yourself in the foot with penalties, and you stay ahead of the sticks, and you stay on time and, pretty much in rhythm throughout this game, there is really no reason, because of the talent on the outsides, that the Vikings cannot be the better team throughout all 4 quarters of this game. But that kind of leads perfectly into number 3. You got to get the good Sam Darnold. And, I honestly hate saying this. I'm kind of mad at myself for putting this as the 3rd key to victory, because it is just good Sam Darnold. That's just who he is at this point. I mean, his season stats are ridiculous. In 14 games, the man's already thrown for 3,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 11 picks. I mean, if he keeps that pace, let's just say he throws for 2 touchdowns and averages about 200 yards over the next 3 games, he's going to go over 4,000. He's going to have 35 touchdowns, probably end up with about 12, 13 interceptions. That is fantastic stuff from Sam Darnold, and he's been accurate throughout the year. Obviously, last week, he missed a couple of easy ones to Jefferson and Addison throughout that game, but I think he'll turn it around. And plus, playing outside, I trust having the 6'3", 225-pound quarterback with a rocket of an arm compared to, guy like Kirk Cousins, for example. But number 4 for me, I'm going to go get home with 4. And, mainly what I mean by this is, hey, Jonathan Grenard, go dominate a football game yet again. And shout out to Tex for cooking this up, saying I was wrong. He's a blue chipper at the top of this. I was 100% wrong. Jonathan Grenard is a blue chipper. He's one of the best edge rushers in the league. He's one of the most slept-on defensive players in the league. Go game wreck a game. Go dominate number 58. 58, I'm calling you out because you are that special. You are that talented. You go wreak havoc on Geno Smith in that pocket this weekend. Maybe you get another forced fumble, get your 5th on the season. Also, Grenard, as a guy who can't pronounce words too well, me having to say 4 forced fumbles over and over again, I don't know if I'm going to do that for much longer or be able to do that for much longer. So I would appreciate if you make that easier for me and I could just say 5 forced fumbles instead of me tripping over my words saying 4 forced fumbles and kind of stuttering a little bit. So Grenard, obviously joking, but go have another good game and we should be celebrating an 8th straight victory. And, I've already kind of teased this. It's playoff mode. Every single game from here on out is a playoff game for the Minnesota Vikings. It doesn't matter if it's against the Seahawks, Packers, or Lions. Because if you just handle business and you just win 3 games here, you'll be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And Philly will have to come to you. Detroit or Green Bay will have to come to you. They will have to play in the bank. They will have to go against that Flores defense. They will have to go against that crowd noise. Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, all those weapons. Win 3 football games. Treat this like a playoff game. And I'm so serious. The Vikings will be playing in the Super Bowl this February. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a SKOL down below in the comments section. This will be our real one roll call for today's program. So just give me those SKOLs down below. And as always, you guys can give me a follow on Twitter at PatSieps is the Twitter handle. Give me a follow over there, and I'll give you guys a follow right back. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. SKOL Vikes.